Hello everyone. Hello. Hi, my name is Campanano. If you're a researcher who either specializes in or is doing some form of a research project, having a quality audio recording for your planned interviews is a must. If you're unsure of what kind of audio recording equipment you need to get, then look no further than this video. Today, we will be covering the Zoom H4N Pro Handy Recorder and its functions, and take you through a tutorial where I not only attempt to convince you why the H4N is one of the best options for an audio recorder for an interview, but to utilize its many wondrous functions as evidence towards this personal recommendation. So, let's begin. Hold on, wait, almost forgot. So, if you're looking at this tutorial and you have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about in terms of how to use the very basic functions of this audio recording device, I have included some basic functions that you're gonna need just for this video. Also, a word on this video. Even if you're not a researcher, this tutorial is also a great way for you to get some tips on how to conduct interviews. So, sorry about that. Moving on. While smartphones and related apps can be a good alternative, it's a much better investment to be using digital voice recorders, especially when conducting good research interviews. There's a chance that 1, phone recordings are designed to capture audio in close quarters, or 2, if you receive a call or a text message, it may interrupt the recording. As such, digital voice recorders are a much safer bet. Now, you're wondering how the device I chose, the H4N, works. Before we get into the nitty and gritty, there are some other aspects of the H4N Pro that you might need to know about. Now, on the lower left-hand side of the Zoom is where you can switch and hold the on button. And as you can see, the Zoom should be loading and will be getting ready in a moment. The Zoom H4N Pro is powered either to the batteries right here, as shown here, or you can connect it to an AC adapter like so. Finally, on the right side, the Zoom H4N also has an SD card that stores your memory. So now that we have the H4N on, here are a couple of other basic functions in mind. If you want to navigate between audio files, or if you want to move up and down when accessing the menu, so if I press the menu on there, you can use the dial on the right side of the H4N to navigate, so as so. Then click on the dial to make the selection. So for this device, there are 3 basic modes for the H4N. Stereo mode, 4-channel mode, and multi-track mode. However, for today's tutorial, we'll cover for one of the modes, stereo mode, which is one option needed to use this audio recorder for the purposes of conducting an interview. Now, see these knobs here? All recording modes have the option to make use of the 90 to 100 degree variable XY stereo mic situated at the top of the H4N. Now, the 90 to 100 degree variable XY external mics, which as you can see is labeled as such, also means you can twist each of these 2 components, switching back either to a 90 degree or a 120 degree angle. Now, this is going to have an impact on the area of effect on how your audio recorder will be capturing your sound. If you angle your mics at 90 degrees, which is it right now, you can narrow the field that your Zoom can capture sound, whereas angling your mics at 120 degrees achieves, as you might have guessed, the opposite, which is capturing a range of sound with a wider depth of field. So now we can start with stereo mode, which is the default mode for this device. To record using the XY stereo mic or an external stereo mic, press the mic button right here. So, and it should be blinking or red. Next, press the record button. The H4N is now on standby mode, meaning that the record button should be blinking red. The H4N is not recording anything yet, but it is still capturing the sounds that you could be making. So if I do this, the raised bars on the HUD indicate that the mics are picking up sound. In standby mode, it would be a good idea to adjust both your recorder levels, as shown here, or your volume levels, as shown here. to ensure that the sensitivity levels of your H4N is picking up the appropriate range of sounds that you want to capture. Now, just press the record button one more time, and voila! It should be picking up the sound of your voice. Now, if you want to press stop, just simply press stop twice. And now, if you want to play back with the voice that you just captured, press play. And voila! It should be picking up the sound of your voice. On the back of the H4N, you can see the input jack for the external mic, which you can use for plug-in power. Now here's the neat thing about stereo mode. There are actually multiple inputs with which you can be used that can be connected to multiple microphones. So, in stereo mode, the default mic is the XY microphones, indicated by the button labeled mic, shown here. Now, however, what you can do is that you can essentially switch from the external mics here to one of the two inputs. So if I say I wanted to plug in this microphone, and I wanted to attach this clip into my research participant, now the H4N should pick up sound through the microphone plugged into its corresponding input. Once you have your external microphone set up and connected to the corresponding inputs, you can individually set your recording and volume levels for each mic as needed. Finally, to access your files, click on Menu, then click using the direction dial, using the option, and go to the option labeled Folder, where it'll take you to the screen labeled Folder Select. And here, your files in stereo mode can be saved into one of 10 subfolders. The XY stereo microphone or an external stereo mic input is able to accommodate for both one-on-one and group interviews. By setting your recording levels, and as long as you and your subject are in a reasonably quiet and isolated space, the stereo microphone should be able to pick up your voices even at a distance, provided that you set your recording levels high enough. For one-on-one interviews, by setting the XY stereo microphone at 90 degrees, you can narrow your focus on a single subject. Alternatively, for group interviews, setting the XY mics at 120 degrees is more suitable to its wider range of audio capture. For group interviews, which require more than 2 people, you essentially have 4 different channels for recording purposes. So, in addition to the 2 external mics on top, you also have 2 additional input choices for adding even more external audio devices such as a microphone. I also recommend wearing headphones as one of your inputs. That way you can better hear the flow of sounds coming from the other channels, so you can adjust your volume and recording levels as needed, as well as the areas of effect for your external microphones. And there we go. This is just one of the 3 basic modes that we've covered today for the H4N Pro, and how this mode, stereo mode, can be realistically used in an interview situation. Remember, good interviews are ones that have high quality recordings, so that when you sit down and transcribe them, you are much less likely to run into mistakes and errors during the transcription process, saving you time and stress. So, that concludes our segment on the H4N Pro and how it can be just one of many digital audio recorders that a researcher can choose. So, this is Jan Patrick Campanano signing off. Good night.